Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Shadowverse Evolve Dimension Shift Runecraft deck profile for post-advent of Genesis. This deck focuses on being able to build up a good number of spells in your cemetery for you then to be able to use your main spell, which is Dimension Shift, to gain an additional turn, to then call out many different followers onto the field the following turn, and then being able to swing into your opponent's life with those followers since you have an additional turn and they no longer have the summon sickness on the field. It's a really fun deck, and this is also my first Shadowverse deck on the channel, so if you all enjoy the content that I am bringing for Shadowverse, I'll definitely do more in the future, especially with set 2 in September and all the other many decks you can build from the first booster set advent of Genesis. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the followers, I am running 3 copies of Merlin. Sadly, I have 2 Merlin on the way, but as for a more budget option, because Merlin is quite expensive at the moment, you can run Sammy Wizard's Apprentice in place of her with the fanfare of Sammy's Wizard Apprentice. Look at the top card of your deck and you may put it into your cemetery, and then Merlin, being a fanfare of search your deck for a spell, reveal it and add it to your hand. They both have an evolution cost of 2 play points as well, so you need those 2 play points. So normally on the turn that I play them, if I only had enough play points to play the actual card, I'll have to wait until I have 3 play points built up to then be able to evolve them into their evolved form, which we'll go over the evolved forms at the end of the main deck. But 3 copies definitely of Merlin, just because she has the fanfare to search for a spell, reveal it, and add to your hand. So then you have an additional spell to use on the following turn if you have no play points left to use on the turn you play this card. I also run 3 copies of Penguin Wizard, with this card's evolution cost being 1 play point. But also you can then rest this card, discarding a spell to draw a card. So it helps to set up more spells in your basically, when they turn a card sideways, it's engage. It's what it's called in Shadowverse. So you can engage your Penguin Wizard and then discard a spell and draw a card. And then the evolution of Penguin Wizard allows you to then basically stand it once again and then have the discard and draw power off of the evolution as well. Or you can even attack with the evolution of Penguin Wizard. And then also 3 copies of the follower Flame Destroyer. Flame Destroyer is one of the more important cards for the actual Dimension Shift combo, because with Dimension Shift gaining the additional turn, you can also call out Flame Destroyer for a free play point cost if you have 15 spells with Spell Boost or Spell Chain, what they call it in the Evolve card game, for you to then just call out as many Flame Destroyers as you've gathered up in your hand, and then use your Dimension Shift and then gain the additional turn, and then swing at your opponent with your Flame Destroyers for 7 damage each, which if you have the 3 in your hand, that's enough for game right there. And then the last of our followers being 3 copies of Demon Flame Mage. This card has just a play cost of 3 play points and then just needing 1 play point to evolve this follower, with her evolution just being able to deal 2 damage to each enemy follower on the field. So a good way to clear out boards on your opponent's side of the field, especially against Forestcraft that only have, fairies to work with, or any of the warriors that Swordcraft may have on the field also. That is it for the followers. We have a big majority of spells in the deck. The followers just help with the setup for those spells. Our main one, since this is a Dimension Shift deck, 3 copies of Dimension Shift. When playing this card, banish 10 spells in your cemetery. This card's costs 7 play points to play instead, so you don't have to necessarily have the 7 play points, but obviously you can't because it costs 12 play points to play this card, so you have to banish the 10 spells in your cemetery instead to make the play cost for this card be 7, and then you take another turn after this one. So you want to make sure you have your Flame Destroyers on the field beforehand, and then activate your Dimension Shift, so then you can have these cards out on the field, pass your turn, and then since you take your additional turn, then you'll be able to swing with your Flame Destroyers for hopefully the 20 damage needed to beat your opponent. So 3 of this card. There are possibilities, I've done it before, where you can have, if the game goes on long enough, where you could use this twice if you have enough spells built up in your cemetery. Some of the easier spells to use are one of the ones you're going to use on turn 1 a lot, and that is Insight. It's a quick and then just a draw 1 card for 1 play point. So on your first turn, you can just use this card to draw 1 card, setting up another spell in your cemetery as well. And then also 3 copies of Fate's Hand. Now, using up your hand is another important thing that you want to avoid. So with Fate's Hand, it's just a play cost of 3 play points to draw 2 cards. And then with a spell chain of 10, that means having 10 spells in your cemetery to recover 1 play point. So then basically you'll play the 3 and gain 1 back. So you can use some other cards, including our Wind Blast, which I'm also running 3 copies of. Select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 2 damage. Spell chain 10, deal 4 damage instead. So once again, spell chain is just how many spells that are built up in the cemetery for you to use. And sometimes they'll mention if it includes the card in the cemetery, excluding this card, to perform the spell chain 10. But still being able to deal 4 damage to an enemy follower can definitely help to clear out some of the more pesky followers your opponent may have. I also run 3 copies of Sorcery Cache, another searcher just for 2 play points. You can look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal a spell from among them, put it into your hand. You may also put a spell into your cemetery and put the remaining cards on the bottom of the deck in any order. So the build-up numbers needed for Dimension Shift definitely do take effect with your Sorcery Cache, just being able to add a card as well as add 1 to your hand, to the cemetery, and 1 to your hand. So as long as you reveal 2 spells, you at least have full use of Sorcery Cache. Also, 3 copies of Fire Chain. You quick select up to 2 enemy followers on the field and deal 3 damage divided between them. So what's very useful about this is you have to choose 2 followers, or up to 2, and then deal 3 damage divided between them. So even if you have to choose 1, you can still deal the 3 damage thanks to this card to that 1 follower. You just have the chance, if it's a follower with only 2 shield, to then at least be able to, eliminate that follower on the field, and then 1 additional one by dealing that other one 1 damage also. And then for the last of the Runecraft cards, 2 copies of Fiery Embrace. Select an enemy follower on the field and destroy it, and then Spell Chain 10, deal 3 damage to that follower's leader. So the Spell Chain 10 can definitely help for the deal 3 damage. I even thought of running 3 Fiery Embrace just because it can destroy, some of the higher shield followers your opponent may have. If I were to do so, I may take out 1 copy of Wind Blast for a 3rd copy of Fiery Embrace. For some of the generic spells that we run in the deck, I run 3 copies of Angelic Barrage. This card is just really, really good. It's a quick play point 1, deal 1 damage to each enemy follower on the field. So then if your opponent, once again, has plenty of fairies on the field, or any of the warriors in Swordcraft, or even some of the lower played followers in Dragoncraft or Havencraft, you can use your Angelic Barrage to just eliminate those cards. Being a quick, you can even use it on your opponent's turn if you saved up the play points from your previous turn. With the other generics being 3 copies of Angelic Snipe, just once again selecting an enemy follower and dealing 2 damage to it. So for a play point cost of 1, it doesn't, deal 1 damage to each enemy follower, but you at least have the quick to deal 2 damage to 1 your opponent may try to attack into you for, and then also be able to then go for that play. Sorry, a bug kind of flew over the camera and it gave me a little scare there when I was like, what the heck is that? But for the last of the spells, 2 copies of Trail of Light. When this card is discarded, you draw a card. And with this card, the main play with your Trail of Light comes in the form of Penguin Wizard. So you can rest your Penguin Wizard and then discard Trail of Light to then get the draw off of Penguin Wizard. And when this card is discarded, you draw an additional card. So you're essentially drawing 2 cards for just the discard of this card. Very, very useful because it's also just a play point cost of 2 to draw a card if need be, if you don't have the Penguin Wizard play and you're just trying to build up more of the spells and you have the play points to use. For the Evolution deck, we run the 3 copies of Merlin Evolved, but I have the 2 copies of Sammy Wizard Apprentice, since we only have the 1 Merlin technically in the deck with the 2 Sammy Wizard Apprentice replacements. And then on Evolve, you select a spell card that costs 3 play points or less in your cemetery and play it for 0 play points. So if you have a Sorcery Cache or Fate's Hand, you can then use that card for the additional draw and the recovery of the play point if you have Spell Chain 10, thanks to your Evolved Merlin. You give a draw to each yourself and the opponent, thanks to Sammy's Wizard Apprentice, but I would say a Merlin Evolve is still much, much better because it's a free cost for that card, giving you the draw and no benefit to your opponents. And then also the 3 copies of Penguin Wizard for the discard again, but with the original Penguin Wizard, once you evolve for the play point needed, if you rested your, or engaged, once again, your Penguin Wizard, and then you evolve it into your Penguin Wizard Evolve, you are able to then restand it and then go for the discard again. So the big play here comes with the spell buildup that you're meant to do in this deck using your Penguin Wizard. It has a pretty high shield, so it's a little more difficult for some decks like Dragoncraft to get over, but with the last evolution being our Demon Flame Mage, which we're also running the 3 copies of, on evolve, deal 2 damage to each enemy follower on the field, and it's one of the easier cards to evolve since you only need an evolution cost of 1 play point to evolve your Demon Flame Mage. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Like I said, this is my first Shadowverse deck on the channel, so I hope you all enjoy. If you want to see more, definitely do let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you have any questions on the Shadowverse card game, definitely do let me know, and I'll hopefully be able to answer them for you. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.